Okay. Alright. Time to go back and play some Apollo Justice. A little warm, but I gotta bear with it. But, Di, do you have any idea what happened last time? Oh, Di. You remember what happened last time? Die. Send me a chat. Dia say, are you asleep? Me? Where are you, Di? You still there with us? Let's find this one for some reason. Di, you still with us? You were away for a bit. Okay. Do you know what happened last time? Thinking. We did paintings, you're right. That was part of it. We're supposed to be doing a mock trial to test out the new jury system. Unfortunately, the case that we're doing is actually a real case. So there's no mock in this trial. October 8th, 9:48 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 6. Good morning. You remember what her name is, right, Di? No, you don't remember her name? There, I hope that answers answers the question for you. So you're Sarah, right? I'm Trucy. Trucy Wright. That's Wright with a W. But not Wright. But not right? Trucy, we all hear right, and right, but we can't see right, and right. Right, Di? I'm usually thinking, what are you talking about? I can see right, and right on screen. We're on your side. You can tell us anything. Please. Good morning. Ah! She speaks! Not bad. Not bad. But I think you'd do better with a little smile, you know? You're so pretty. You need to sell yourself, you know? Lucy, let's take it easy for starters. Thank you for taking my case. We got a reaction. Okay. Well, that's a start, I guess. There she goes with the nail polish again. Di, are you wondering what's special about this nail polish? That the game keeps bringing it up? That's great, really. It's so cultured. Want to try? Ooh, really? Girls. The victim, Drew Misham, was a forger and a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really. And maybe one that led to his death.
Explain why Drew Misham lives every day with pain in his hair and pain on his face.
October 8th, 10 o'clock a.m., District Court, courtroom number 3. Well, we will now begin the trial of Vera Misham. Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy and he's looking around all nervous like. The repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time, and maybe, indeed, alter our legal system forever. Today is a test of the justice system, and the first step towards a new order in our court. Daddy's secret mission! The jurist will function like a jury. It is hoped their inclusion will help the courts to better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurists in the courtroom? 3 closed circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. The jurists have accepted to everything that transpires. Jurist, judge, well, and Judge Cool. No, see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was gonna say that. My apologies there, Judge. Jurist, today, Judge, today's trial cooling. If you would be so kind. The jurists are unbound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. We're about to find out just what effect they're going to have. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. The details of the case, if you would. The victim is the painter, Drew Misham. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. By whom, you ask? By none other than the defendant, Vera Misham.
Objection!
There wasn't any poison in the coffee. Acha. Someone has been doing their homework. Indeed, poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself. Mug? Oh, residue was found in the room, I see. The autopsy report described the manner of our victim's death. The court accepts this into evidence. Misham's autopsy report added to the court record. According to this report, the victim's death was caused by atroquinine poisoning, a chemical compound that does not occur naturally. Legal dosage is mere 0.002 milligrams. A touch of atroquinine is in the body, is the touch of the Reaper's sight. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, you may present your witness. For you today, a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. The journalist, no doubt. The witness will state his name and occupation. Right. Well, for starters, my name is Spark Bushel. My job is a lone observer of the world. In other words, a freelance journalist, right? If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record.
Yes, Mr. Bushel.
I dislike conclusions. Specifically, the aspect of jumping to conclusions. Preconceptions make park sandbox of endless desert waste, end quote.
But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday.
Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand, I stand before you today as a man with a dream. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights to the story. Scoop turned Mr. Bushel into that Mr. Bushel, end quote.
Let's hear your testimony then, shall we? A simple case, eh, Gavin? For me, this jury is still out.
The journalist story. I visited the studio around 9 o'clock that night to do the interview. First, outsider to enter the atelier. Journalist history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. Know what happened next? Star falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time.
That does sound like a simple case. Unless you were the one who poisoned him.
What are you saying, Judge?
Need I remind you the cameras are rolling today? I felt the need to be a bit dramatic.
You didn't do it, did you?
Hello, Phoenix.
Made you a thing like that? Come on, that's like...
So, the words with no space, if you've not played this game before, it would take you a while to figure out exactly what he said. Since I've played this game before, I know what he said. You looked at that, Di, you probably was like, what the heck is that? Oh, never mind. That's probably how you were feeling, right? What the heck is that? Oh, wait, never mind. You ever get that moment? You ever get that moment? You read something that doesn't look familiar to you, and then you look at it a little closely. Nope, never mind. Might not be for words, but it may be an object. You're looking at something. It's almost dark, and you see something in the far distance. Wait, what is that? And then you walk up closer. And says, wait, I know what that is. Never mind. Right? And you ever get those moments? We tend to call those double takes.
Newsmaker makes the news, end quote. Or even contemporary witch hunt, end quote. I know wild accusations rock courtroom, end quote. Rock indeed. Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun.
I'm so happy for him. Very well, Mr. Justice. Your cross-examination, if you please. 9 o'clock at night. Isn't that a little late for an interview?
The great painter Drew Mission says come at 9 o'clock. Believe you me, I go at 9 o'clock.
The first, and as it turned out, last interview was such a prolific painter. Right. Can you tell us what it was like when you arrived? You were the first reporter ever in Drew's studio?
Posthumously, we'll look back on that night as a turning point in journalistic history. Basically a significant step for all mankind. But a giant step for Brucial Guy, end quote.
If no one on the outside ever has access to the studio, then it would serve the reason that the deed was done by an insider, by which he means Farrah did it. So how did the watchmaking interview go? Would you mind being a little bit more specific?
Oh, oui, let me tell you, I enjoyed a cuppa. In fact, it all began when I... That's not what I meant!
Oh, I believe I know what your point is driving at. This coffee the victim was served. Did anyone other than the defendant touch it? Right, that. That's what I was going to say, really.
Well, now if you got a question to ask, you better straight up ask it. That's what I tell all the new recruits several times if necessary. Write for a grade schooler, my motto. Which isn't to say I can only write...
Who touched the coffee?
Don't know. I was in the back, looking at the studio's equipment when she served it.
Wasted time. And what happened next? What's this about a star falling? Star falls. Huh. It's like an old telegram. Send money over.
Zooey! Get out now? That's like a journalist code word. An important personage passes away. A star falls. Get it?
There's no gravity in space, is there? I wouldn't think stars could fall, really. No! They just blow up. We can't hear, but that's what happens to stars. And then a big giant vortex forms where that star was, creating a black hole. Does this matter?
Oh boy, this is good stuff. Good stuff. How about star break? Lax punch. I know. Star dies. Lacks imagination. Of course, you could go with Drew dies, straight to the point. I like it.
I think we need to hear about something a little more substantial. I will give you a hint. It's not going to be the last one. You want to hear the moment of the death. Okay, let's hear the moment of death. About our Mr. Mission passed away.
Oh boy, what a scene that was. He puts his coffee mug down with a crash, right?
Yes, and then?
and the cold finger of death touches his spine. Life's flame sputters and falls. So cold was that touch. He could do naught but tremble uncomfortably. Actually, life's flame is a little tired. Life's river froze over. Yes, that's a go. I think he started his article already. Could you describe that a little more simply? Well, as you can imagine, I was pretty surprised. Hit the floor, as they say. Artist's seizure is final performance, end quote. Etroquinine paralyzes the central nervous system. The body aches back. Like, well, that's quite enough of that. Some of us want to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah. When we're describing death, no details are held back.
Oh, right. Well, I want details. Lots of juicy details.
For that, you can listen to our last year's hit single, Etroquinine, My Love, by the Gaviniers, available at all major music outlets. Etroquinine, My Love. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the reference to that title is related to a White Snake song, Give Me All Your Love. But because Guilty Love is a reference to Gimme, or not Gimme, Guilty of Love.
The point here is that the victim died of atroquinine poisoning. Well, Mr. Justice, how did you find that testimony?
We didn't really get anything new out of that one, did we? Well, we think about it. We didn't get much new out of that. We got his death. We already know he died. Details of how he died isn't going to help us. So, you think the moment of Mr. Mission's death would be important? The Mr. Virtual story really didn't tell us anything we didn't already know. Very well, please continue with the testimony. Alright, let's go back one. We're going to press that again.
Hold it!
And we're going to do the next one. So the last one we're probably not going to use because he doesn't specify, because we're assuming Stars, the Stars coffee is related to Bristol's coffee. So the other one is, let's find out some more details about Bristol's coffee. So you drank the coffee that Vera served you too? Of course! When someone serves you coffee, you drink it. That's what my old boss always used to say. Never did get what he meant by it though. But you're still alive, which is to say you didn't die. Of course not! No point falling before you're a star, end quote. That's not exactly what I was getting at. What were you getting at then? You know the poison was on the rim, not in the coffee. Oh, yes, yes! There are 2 cups on the tray she brought. And one of the cups had Drew's signature painted on the side. No chance to guess. We'll take that one by mistake, I guess. Well, Mr. Justice, was that testimony important? So, did we learn anything new out of that one? I don't know. We learned that the coffee didn't have actual quinine in it, but it was on the rim. Well, we knew about this before we came to the courtroom. Is the detail of the cup that important? Because we have what his cup looks like. The detail about the other person not being poisoned meant he was still alive. So the coffee wasn't poisoned. For now, we're going to say not important. For now, we're going to say not important. We're going to go to the last statement, okay? Doesn't look like this is going to lead to much. Very well, please continue with the testimony. No, we did not. Because I went back to the other statement, I pressed the same statement because we wanted to check the other choices.
Hold it!
Can you say that for sure? For sure? Sure, I'm sure. Your studio isn't a big place, kiddo. I'd know it if someone else had come in. What if they had been hiding in there from before?
Objection!
Even if someone had been hiding in the studio, they hardly could have poisoned that mug without anyone noticing. You think I, Bart Grisho, would miss something as obvious as that? No way! Sure makes it sound exciting. I guess that's his job. There's only one moment we need to focus on, really. The moment when Drew Misham died? Exactly. There has to be something there. Alright. Now, we could go back and press that one statement. Or, maybe there's an evidence that sticks out. If you aren't too sure, you can always ask Andy. We don't have any proof to prove that there was anybody that might have entered the room. So he may be telling the truth there. We could press this again. Because there's 3 choices. You can verify with Andy. Nothing yet? He hasn't responded back to you? Okay. We don't have to reread this again. We've already read this before. We're pretty sure that the last one is probably going to be the same as Bristol's coffee. We did Bristol's coffee. Which one that says coffee? You say Mr. Mishram had the coffee too? But did you actually see him drink the coffee?
Of course! He who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger. End quote. I live in a man sees dog eat dog and writes about it world yet.
Yet?
I guess I can't say I saw him drink it really. He had one so-called sip at that. Man put lip to mug, drinks, end quote.
That poison is quite virulent, I guess.
My stomach did a so-called somersault. Since I gulped down the coffee without so much of a second glance at it. Wait, maybe something's there. Some kind of so-called trick. Anyone wants to venture a guess for the record?
Does this guy have a pause button? Well, Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable? That one seems a little valuable, don't you think? So there's a possibility that he did not drink it. The victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over.
Oh, yes. You can go to the press with that one.
Your Honor, this is vital piece of information. Please add it to the testimony. Very well, the witness will add this to his testimony.
Vital, right. He had one step, if that. The next moment, he was on the floor.
So he either took a sip or he didn't, and then fell over?
Oh yes, indubitably. Just like that. Wham, bam!
So Mr. Mishram drank the coffee and fell over immediately. I think Bristol's telling the truth too. Should I get him to tell me about anything else? These are the same options as the other one. there's no real need to change the testimony. The problem with the testimony is already pretty obvious. So now that we have this new statement, this is the only new statement we have. Is that what he said? Let's see what else we have. Traces of slow-acting deadly poison atropine were found on the cup rim. So this says slow-acting, but he's saying he immediately died.
Objection!
You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison used, atropine. Oh, Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. A lethal dosage of 0.002 milligram paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile. Why are you using me as an example? Unfortunately, we weren't told everything. There was a vital omission in Mr. Gavin's explanation. An omission? Atropine is a virulent, as he says, but death doesn't come upon ingestion, not immediately. That's because atropine is slow-acting. Slow-acting? What? According to one forensic scientist, it's one of the most virulent poisons, but it absorbs into the body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes for the time of the ingestion for adverse effects to show. If we suppose that the moment Mr. Misham sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then he would still have had time to enjoy his last cup of joe. Order! Order! What's the meaning of this? If what the defense says is correct, why, that contradicts the entire testimony we just heard. Well, Mr. Burchell, anything to say on the record? Slow acting. S-L-O-W-A-C-T. It was a virulent, alright. Even then, it had already begun dipping its claws into the journalist. He's working on his scoop.
Objection!
It's Burchell, yeah? Burchell, let's take a trip back down the memory lane. Huh? Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over. This is vital. You know what I think? I think that was a not so subliminal suggestion, end quote. I admit, it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. I would be forced to say, oh, reader, to my simple case. I butchered that completely. I think that's German. Or Russian. German or Russian. And You would be forced to say farewell to your article.
Come again?
You can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And as the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent, and you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scope goodbye.
Oop. Oop. Look, wait, just wait a second. Just 1 second.
We're waiting, out with it.
I think I just recalled a so-called important detail.
A revival of recollection, end quote. A story's survival, end quote. Attorney utterly confused, end quote. Very utterly confused, end quote. Very brain is hurting, end quote. Barry's brain fried, end quote. We're going to be end quoting for the rest of this stream.
Actually,
You're used to it?
I did notice something when I visited the studio. I heard of poison that takes its sweet time, see?
But not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently. Mr. Bruchel, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened?
You bet I am. The antidote for a poisonous contradiction, end quote.
You must say. Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote. I might say. I think Apollo's brain is fried at this point. No, I think Di's brain would go. I think she'd go dizzy if she saw a book that big.
I figured it out, but only after an in-depth interview.
He's talking about this book that he got in the mail today. I think you've probably heard of it. It's called Les Miserables. And it's this big. It's about the same thickness as a book called Roots. You've probably seen plays or musicals based on Les Miserables. Order. As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony that Mr. Misham died the instant after he drank.
Of course I'm standing by my testimony. And my dream and exclusive rights to the story.
I suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course, he wouldn't have chose a simple case, not him. Phoenix Wright, who else? Bruchel. Report for us, if you would. What is it that you noticed? This court is a critical trial of the jury system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed.
I'm testifying, alright? What Bruchel noticed? When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note?
A suicide note?
Yes, he had this look on his face.
Man's face inscrutable as I quadratic equate as an quadratic equation, end quote. That didn't want to come out as I wanted. Quadratic equation. You know what that is, right, Di? You know what a quadratic equation is, Di? Something math. It's a very complex algebraic expression. Suicide? Poor Mr. Misham. But that means Vera's innocent. Would someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview? Yeah, you knew it. Oh. Very well. You may begin your cross-examination. Was there anyone at the studio other than Mr. Misham? Well, his daughter Vera, of course. Was anyone besides Mr. Misham and Vera present? Not a single one. Not a cat, not a rat, not even a mouse. The only people who didn't belong to that studio there was you, wasn't it, Mr. Burchell? I know what you're doing. I know your game. Attorney uses classic ransom phenomena ploy, end quote. If you intend to suggest this reporter is a suspect, I'm sure you also intend to present evidence supporting the accusation, right? Correct? In the meantime, let's move along, shall we? So, he put the letter away when he saw you? Early reporter goes worm, end quote. That's my secret. I'm not sure I follow. It's the night of the interview. I arrived 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The handle turns, the door opens, and I barge in. Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that unlawfully entry possible? Mr. Misham sure seemed to think so. You should have seen him. He crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as fast as he could. I know a secret when I spot one, and that was one. Those seem insufficient. Well, Mr. Justice, I wonder. It does have the ring of something important. The defense finds this testimony vital, Your Honor. Very well, please add it to your testimony then. Hey, why not? My account comes free of charge.
Hold it!
And you saw his seal this yellow envelope with the letter? Hey, don't look at me like that. I saw what I saw. Apollo, you think this might be our big break? Yeah. What I need is to show some decisive evidence now. You didn't think anything might be wrong at the time? Hey, when I go in for an interview, that's what I'm there to do. Interviewer finds looking more effective than caring, end quote. So what about now? Thinking back on it, did you sense anything strange in Mr. Mission's behavior? Well, yeah, that's why I'm telling you all this to begin with. Very well, continue with your testimony.
Hold it!
A suicide note? Well, yeah, don't quote me or anything. I'm just saying it's possible, you know. So, you didn't exactly check the letter? Of course not. It was sealed. Contents of unknown until can is open, end quote. You can always check the label. Do you think Mr. Mission was writing a suicide note? If he was, that would solve the case in a jiffy. It kind of makes me wonder about the letter. So this one should be pretty easy now that we got that new statement. The new one. Take a look at that statement and take a look at your evidence. You will find the contradiction.
Objection!
As it just so happens, there was a single letter in a desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope. What? Prosecutor Gavin. Yes? Was a yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, no. On her forehead, it's easy to mistake the color of an envelope. I guess, but not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already 7 years ago. Well, Mr. Burchell, I can explain that. True, right? He wanted to get the letter in an envelope pronto. Get it out of sight of my beady eyes, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crumpled it away. And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction jump? Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim? That night the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope. Well, it's not possible, actually. Because remember, the stamp was marked 7 years ago. Think about that. Yes, the stamp was marked 7 years ago, so it's not possible that he had put a letter in a red envelope. That's not possible. I like your expression so full of confidence. It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the content of this envelope with the assistance of a forensic scientist. Hello, Cure Gahan. Sorry if I butchered that name. Welcome to the stream. What do you mean? What do you mean 555 tuna? I'm not calling anybody. What? Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Misham. Oh? Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself. I've been scooped! Order, order, order! Mr. Brushel, can you explain this to the court? Oh, my, how could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots, end quote. Almost sounds like Wendy Oldbag. My voice for him kind of sounds like Wendy Oldbag, doesn't it? I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Brushel. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham said they're searching his desk drawer for something. His desk drawer? Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. A stamp? Whatever for? Well, to mail his letter, what else? And then, why, yes, I think I saw him put it in his letter box. Yes, it was a yellow envelope, and he put it in that box. Well, apparently this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case. Oh, how I wish it did. I think if there was a suicide note, what a story. Star Wright suicide note in front of reporter falls, end quote. As I was saying, that has nothing to do with this case. That said, yes, Your Honor? It makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money. So this was from 7 years ago, yeah? So, am I finished here? I mean, am I finished here? I was thinking of, going home to start writing. The answer is no. I had to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that rather unique face. Come on! The attorney has active imagination, little else, end quote. Even I noticed something, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about. You really do, huh, Judge? Judge has active imagination, end quote. I guess we're going to have a cat moment. We're going to have a cat moment. Okay, time to have a cat moment. He's asking for attention. He's asking for some attention. Okay. Tension's over with. Tension's over with. Please, continue with your testimony. Tell us about the center of a story. Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here, usually. You know, I wouldn't be doing that to the glasses. For one, toothbrushes can scratch the lens. Not to mention, the saliva on his tongue is literally going to just make his glasses worse. Sorry, Mario, I gotta take this. This is safe on glasses. You know what this is, Di? You know what this is, right, Di? Yes or no? Do you know what this is? This is a microfiber cloth. There's a fine side, and there's a not so fine side. This side of the microfiber cloth is for pretty much deep cleaning. The finer side is you can take your glasses and you can clean your glasses on this side. Because you need a finer microfiber cloth to clean your glasses to prevent the glasses from scratching. Although my glasses are about 20 years old, I need to get a new pair. So, and because it costs money for glasses, I've been behind. Someday I'll get new glasses. End of a story. Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverages story, guesses interview, end quote. The story contains a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably has something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. So you threatened to go to the press with this story? That's how you got your interview? Blackmail? Well, yes. I mean, no. He admitted to blackmail. Did you read that right, Di? It wasn't exactly black. I mean, I'm not... Something wrong, Mr. Burchell? Look, this is my story, my tidbit. Journalist info is livelihood, end quote. I see. While you have me chatting away in here, what's going on out there? What if some Wally Wordsmith or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be going to the press while I'm going to waste. The court feels your pain, Mr. Burchell. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace. You know what? If this was a real courtroom, The judge would be like, says, you know what? I don't really care. A certain case 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago? The victim, Drew Misham, had an aversion to reporters. Boy, I guess. Not even my considerable charms did much for him. Till I finished. Finally got my thumbs up, that is. Maybe you can elaborate on this a little bit for us. Big, giant, pearly whites. Exactly what sort of story was this? Like I said. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing in between, end quote. I might have suggested I had a lead on this particular story, but I didn't threaten or cajole or anything. Honest. So suggestion was enough to get an interview? Mr. Misham must have really wanted to keep it under wraps. A certain case 7 years ago? Tell us what case. Let me say one thing, Mr. Attorney, and you can quote me on this. I certainly talk about I can't talk about that case. Well, why not? It's about journalistic pride and scrutiny and credibility and connections. Journalists reveal sources only over his dead body. End quote. So, what'll it be? Gonna strangle me? Dead man don't live. He sounds pretty determined not to talk. Our chances of breaking his will aren't looking good. The heat's getting to me. On the one hand, we have your story, and on the other hand, this letter. What makes you think this makes the two are related? Oh, I was just saying it's possible. Call it reporter's intuition, end quote. Hey, I say a lot of things you're going to pick all of them apart. Be my guest. All of them? No. Just the incredibly suspicious ones. I see. Anything else to add about Mr. Misham? Just how amazing was Mr. Misham's talent? Huh? Ooh-wee, boy, I mean, hey, he's a star, man, a star. The flow of his brush is like a great, undwelling river across the canvas. Artist's paint lights up studio like stunt, end quote. This guy is full of wacky gestures, but that one just now was wackier than usual. He looks kind of nervous to me, Apollo. Definitely. I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what. That testimony left a bad taste in my mouth. It all makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous. I wonder what this story he's talking about is. It must have been good to get an interview with a famous
for clues like that. Something powerful enough to drag Mr. Misham out of the hiding. I wonder, maybe it had something to do with Mr. Misham's art?
Alright. So I'll be very honest with you, Dai.
Perceiving him is not going to be easy.
You ready to perceive him anyways? Let's pick a statement. Let's find a statement that you think looks suspicious. You want this one? Well, let's see. So we're going to look at his face. And here this again. We're going to look at someplace else. We didn't see anything different. Let's take a look at his mouth, see if there's anything different. Nope, nothing there. Let's look down. Let's take a look at his hand where his brush is at. Don't see anything there, but we're going to take a look again. Brush is not moving. Take a look at his hand. Is there any movement in his hand? We gotta look at all parts of it. We can't just say it's not this one. You actually have to look at all parts. Alright. This is not going to be the statement, because there's nothing there that I could see. Same pose. Let's take a look. What's that, Ty? That would be his sweat.
Gotcha!
What much, Mr. Burchell?
Yeah, well, man can't help his glad, you know.
It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, you selling began to sweat buckets.
Yeah.
You're hiding something about his talent.
What? That's ridiculous.
Evidence time. Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lay. It just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in the letter. We already know his talent, right? So basically, what do we have to show? Which one? We have this one, we have this one, we have this one, and we have this one. You think it's this one? Well, this is just a stolen painting. This is official work. I don't think this particular one is going to teach us his talent or show us his talent. But you're very, very, very close. This one is supposed to resemble the other one. This would tell us his talent. Hidden picture or painting? Is that what Indy's saying?
Take that!
This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first is it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries. Hey! That is all, Your Honor. In the DS version, it made it look like he was actually pulling his tongue out of his mouth and wrapping around his head. They literally had to make that tie a different color so people knew the difference. Everyone, please, everyone! Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop. Forgery. That's a serious crime. Joe Misham is known as an artist these days, but there were rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back. Another art meaning forgery? Joe Misham was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. The fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover. Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about. Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumors started circulating 7 years ago. 7 years ago? So are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for? Exactly. Forged evidence nets tidy profit. End quote. Order. Why, it's like our victim was living a double life. Aha. This is my chance. So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about.
Objection!
This is my first time hearing about this criminal world. Big, fat lie. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conducted our investigation.
Objection!
But how do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's a possibility of illegal activities here.
Objection!
But there is no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course. Hey, the only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews. Mr. Burchell, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting outcomes. Dinner so solid you could stand an elephant on it, end quote. In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation in the studio from the recap, the trial is over. Apollo, what's he talking about? The cross-examination shows Mr. Burchell didn't have reason or means to poison him. As long as there's no other suspects, then the killer had to be Vera. That's what. This next testimony is our last chance. Mr. Burchell, your testimony, please. The interview, a recap. The only other person in that studio that night was the defendant. And Vera who poured the coffee. She's admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left the studio after he died, nothing. Clearly the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. A nice testimony, clear scrutiny, and without room of doubt. Jack, you really think so? I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your cross-examination. Right. I still have one trump card left to play. I won't let this trial end until I use it.
Hold it!
But that doesn't prove Vera poisoned it.
Objection!
How many times have we heard that before, Ed? Poison reached its victim via the coffee cup mug. And from where did the coffee come from? Not to beat a dead horse again and again. Perhaps you could fill us in. I'm on it. You need a horse beat? I'm your man. Copy. No. Animal control. Let's call it animal control. Shall we?
Hold it!
You witnessed her pouring the coffee? Of course I didn't witness it. When she came in with that tray, the coffee was already poured and steaming. Let us not forget the defender has admitted to pouring the coffee herself. I heard her statement. I poured, I served, and I killed. I don't think she said that last one. What? The last part was just a little joke. I knew that. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with this coffee mug. I need to find another weak spot in this case.
Hold it!
You sure about that? Well, to be really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time. No wonder why he smiles and it smells like mint. One of those candies.
Objection!
Yeah, at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room. One of those mint candies might have been poisoned, and no mint residue was found. This is a long shot anyways. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee? Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof, the possibility is there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it, not yet. And possibly isn't going to cut it. Not now. Mr. Misham ingested the poison via a route other than that coffee. You sure? You sure we don't have that yet? Maybe we do. Proof is possible. I gotta risk it. Oh, excellent. Let's see your proof then. Please show us your evidence. What evidence shows the victim wasn't poisoned via his coffee mug? Think. What's going to be on page 1? Now we're looking for something other than the coffee mug. There is nothing in the letterbox that Drew Mission put his mouth on. He slipped the letter in the box. Now he would have to be able to ingest this. He's not doing anything with the letterbox. No, we need to prove something that's not the mug. Tiny frame. The one thing that the tiny frame could hold would be what?
Take that!
No, not the envelope. Must I explain this over and over? We don't need possibilities or forehead. We need proof. I know that. You should also know that every proof has its moments. Perhaps you're a bit early? I can tell what we know at this point. The victim put nothing to his mouth but that coffee mug. Another hole in this case that needs plugging. Before I can prove anything. But first things first, I better uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again. On with the cross-examination. Well, that's the right answer, but apparently there is something more that needs to be added. It's not going to accept it yet until we find a linking proof. But traditionally, that was presented in court and explained what it is and what it contains. They would have had to accept it at face value. Because what else are you going to put at a 1 centimeter size frame? What? We're talking about a frame that's about this size. Something about this size. And the only thing that's that small is you were almost correct. But it's not the envelope, it's something that you put on the envelope. You want to go back to the same statement? Unless you want to press the other ones, because there is one thing that we're missing. Because we already did, I can prove it, and we tried the frame, it doesn't work at the moment because we don't have everything we need in this one. And saying not yet, it's just going to take us to the next statement anyway. It can't be proven. I do believe our little forehead is growing up. Pity. We like to rash useful forehead best. Another hole in this case that needs plugging before I can prove anything. But first things first, I better uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again. On with the cross-examination. Not one thing? You sure? Yep, sure can be. Well, without one exception. One exception? What? Journalist Spark Bushel does interview leave studio, end quote. Come on. It's a joke, yes? Not funny, I know, but still. Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before? Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn to our defense attorney before returning to this testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night? We do, actually. I think one thing might very well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that has vanished from the crime scene. By which you mean something other than our witness? Of course. Don't tell me. Better miss him? Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. So let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows how it had been taken from the scene. So, what I was showing before, I did show it a little too early. So then, what are we showing this time? because we were on the right track. We just happened to put it the wrong statement.
Take that!
I find Prosecutor Gavin more amusing than this guy, really.
If that was comic relief, why do I not feel the need? We want evidence, not entertainment, Mr. Justice. There goes my career in stand-up. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of crime, so I can't show it to you, but I do have evidence. Wouldn't the tiny frame show that something had left? The letterbox is empty. How's that showing us anything?
Take that!
This is the only link between that studio and the outside world. The letterbox? What did Mr. Bruchel just tell us? When he entered the studio on that night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, it was true.
Furthermore, you went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox. Oh! But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, the other night, that yellow envelope disappeared.
Objection!
Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh? There's a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the person got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave that studio that night. That seems very important to me. Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony.
You got it.
I still think this fails to change anything, Miss Airforehead. I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for.
The letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters.
Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. And you were hiding the fact from us.
Yes, well, actually...
I don't argue the possibility that a letter disappeared from that studio. But Earth Forehead, isn't there such more serious questions before us? Right. How Mr. Misham was poisoned, I know. But Mr. Bruchel's testimony has changed, which means the facts of the case have too. And what he's told us means something entirely different now. I'm starting to think. Let's keep thinking, Apollo.
Hold it!
You say clearly as though it was obvious. But this claim that the defendant poisoned the victim is merely conjecture.
Yes, but you see, in my business, it's all about making the most ridiculous things sound right. A bad habit, I know. Yes, well, actually, I guess it's more of a case of a ridiculous journalist sounds wrong, end quote.
The court is forced to agree with you. Please refrain from wild conjecture.
Understood loud and clear.
If only I could believe that. What do you think, Apollo? Everything he's saying seems so not flawed. Well, that's kind of what you want from a testimony, really. I need to keep my eye on what matters. How and why was Drew Mission killed? Vera poured that coffee. That's not going to change. But if the coffee didn't kill him, I need to find what did and prove it. The new statement. That's the one you want, right? You want the tiny frame? You sure this is correct, right, Di? Press the third statement again.
Hold it! Objection!
Of course, Tusky Evan, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. What did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope. I saw him writing a letter, I did. Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume. Of course, which means that envelope had a stamp on it. A stamp? Ah! As we all know, stamps come with dry glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it by licking the stamp.
Objection!
No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age.
Objection!
Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all.
Objection!
Okay, so he licked the stamp, but wait. How does that explain the atroquinine on the rim of the coffee mug?
Objection!
If he licked the back of a poison stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth? Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing. It was the other way around. What? The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Misham. Mr. Misham poisoned the coffee mug himself. Order, order, order. But that does it? Recall if you would. Atroquinine is a slow-acting poison, yes? The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on that envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to the cup of joe. You have something to add, Mr. Brushel? Oh, his nose is picking up another scent. As I believe I mentioned earlier, I'm not light of heart. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp. End quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he just ran out? Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps, not a single one. That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible. Good show, good show. You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place. Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves that the existence of this poison stamp? Well, let's use the tiny frame. Well, that certainly is a cute little frame, and by little, I really mean little. It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection, so what? Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Atroquinine residue. What? What was it I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most. You aren't saying... Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order, order, order! The postage stamp was in this frame? Impossible! Prosecutor Gavin? Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood dropped. You know what? Can I say something? I had a thought, see? For what, Mr. Bishop? And please stop jittering around like that. The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too, end quote. So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him.
Objection!
Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the Gavinier songlairs, please. Finally, something we agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense. Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Come again? Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew Misham hid from the world. He avoided meeting. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. Mail. Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, that you knew read letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon. Ridiculous. Where's your proof? I want proof. Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. I might not have evidence per se, but things are finally starting to come together. What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling. I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Misham was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Misham the stamp of death. There's only one piece of evidence that we have. Are you okay, Cyrano? Pretty hot, isn't it? You look like you died. You should have water. I kept filling your bowl up to make sure you had water. Because I don't want you dehydrating. I can have Andy check both your bowls to make sure there's water in both of them. There is water in the refrigerator. There would be one thing in here that you would need on page 1. Isn't that the envelope, the one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope was the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor? Ah! In other words, if I had this straight, the stamp poisoned on the stamp lick gas, end quote. Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter asked? He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox. 15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between asphyxiating the stamp and mailing the letter. The clock started ticking. When the time came, he drew his last breath. The murder weapon would have been taken away from the scene. And he's got cold water. He's got cold water in the refrigerator. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system. Make sure he has water in the bedroom. Such a splendid imagination you have there, Ed. If you're wondering why he has 2 bowls, we're encouraging him to go to his food and water. There was days that he refused to eat and drink. So we put a bowl in the laundry room and put a bowl in the bedroom to make sure he goes. We're still waiting for a litter box that goes in the bathroom and one in the bedroom. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago. If that what you'd have us believe, really? Well, is it a little bit of a stretch? But there's the possibility. Yeah, it's a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in this letter. A stamp that then became the murder weapon? How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence? Well, it's been 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent that letter. Your answer is silence, I see. Very well, I move to. Not nice to pick on the Freelon Claver. Di, who do you think that is? Ah! Emma! Right. Well, like my Christoph Gavin impersonation? Did I sound like him? Don't quit your day job. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking at there, Philan Detective? Someone had to go dig you all out of this mess you're making of this case. Mess? You know, none of this would have happened if you trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope easily. Got to explain yourself, Philan Detective? Glare at me all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in the residue, right? That's right! The poison detective spray. Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Whoa, would you look at that? No mistaking it. That's atroquinine residue. I don't believe it! A murder weapon from the past. Now 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last.
Objection!
Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago? Well, there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Mission figured it out. Figured what out? He realized that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead, so he sent him a reply with a different stamp and put his decisive evidence in a frame. You're still here? Well, you didn't leave the courtroom, boy. Can I make a statement here on the record? I, Spark Razor Tooth Brushel, claim this scoop is mine. Razor Tooth? Drew Misham killed in cold blood by sender of 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more syndicate. Star followed after 7-year delay, end quote. Order, order, order. I see no room for further argument here. Though I admit this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp is ticking straight to afterlife, end quote. I feel sorry for everybody in this courtroom who has to deal with Spark Burchell. Uh-oh, I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge. I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago can hardly have been our defendant. Apollo, I think we just won. Very well, this court finds the defendant.
Objection!
Is this the bright future of our legal system? Prosecutor Gavin? A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago? Tickets for Gavin Ear shows are invalid after 2 weeks. But it doesn't make sense any other way. It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fair contradiction in Freud's claim. A contradiction? A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Misham have done what he did? I'm gonna explain that. He must have realized it was poison. Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Misham sets a trap and puts the stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but this begs the question. Why 7 years later did he use his stamp on the night of the murder? 7 years later! You forget a lot of things in 7 years. Surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Mitchum simply forgot. He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk 7 years ago and forgot. You expect us to believe he sprung the trap on himself? It is logical. Well, I admit this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely that he would fall of a trap that he had sitting on his desk for 7 years. Apollo! I don't think we're winning anymore. I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you.
Objection!
Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope? The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to the court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed.
Objection!
What about the atroquinine residue, huh? Oh, I agree, that does seem to be atroquinine residue. But her forehead? It's certainly no stamp. Yeah, but even if you produce poisonous stamp, even if your precious poisonous stamp did exist, your mission never would have used it. That is all. But he did. I believe we've come to a conclusion again. Apollo! Were we wrong the whole time? I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be coincidence. I'd like to bring some closure to this issue sometime this year. Mr. Justice? Yes, Your Honor. Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Misham received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atroquinine on the documents inside that envelope. Similar trace was also found at the crime scene on this tiny picture frame. The defense has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope, an envelope that left the scene of the crime with the poison stamp on it. Yeah, but even if the envelope contained a poison stamp, Drew Misham, knowing this, put it in a frame. He never would use that stamp. I'm afraid you're right. Which means there's a fatal flaw in the defense's case. I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time. I'm sure of it. Traces of atroquinine, the envelope, the frame, and Drew Misham's mysterious death. They're all connected somehow. Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us? The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense, which means that one of our clues must be a fake. A fake clue? Fascinating. And if we find this fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, yeah? The fake clue that's thrown us off this person's trail, none other than this one's going to throw you in a loop, Di. Good guess. The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself.
Objection!
Congratulations. You've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger? Makes a good story. I'll give you that. The fake clue. Fakes. Forgeries. Ah! I know that face. That's a I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again. 7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years pass. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why? That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake. There we are again. The victim was a fake. One forger smelled the trap, one forger fell into the trap. That's 2 forgers and one of them was fake. Order, order, order. So you're telling us that Drew Misham, the victim, was a fake? Well, if he was a fake, who was the real forger? You better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Misham was. If Drew Misham wasn't the real forger, there's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Misham was himself a forgery. The real forger was... do you know? That's all of them. That's the end of the line. There's only one other person that it can be. The only other person that it can be. There's nobody else that it could be.
Take that!
There can be only one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than his own daughter, Vera Misham. Order, order, order! Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb even for you. I kind of agree. I mean, Vera, a forger? Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually, that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Misham and Vera Misham. If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility, by process of elimination. The forger was Vera Misham. Well, Fascinating. Mission? You've been paying attention to the trial so far? Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger Drew Misham? Oh. Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face. I'm used to being stared at by felons, believe me. So they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged these works of art? Yes. So the forger Drew Misham was you? Yes, it was me. What? What? The court was in an uproar. It wasn't coming down. We had a break for a 10-minute recess. Yeah, sending there. So, what do you think, Di? Interesting. Confusing? Well, with this heat, I think I'm going to stop. I'm not going to push it further. Plus, Di's got some work that she's got to do after the stream too, so I don't want to hold her up. So, what did we learn? That she's the forger. And that this whole incident with the red envelope happened 7 years ago. So this trial actually got reworked for the remake. You will see the rework later. We will finish off this part of the trial next time. And we will be sent into another trial right afterward. That will be our next week. I am not going to tell you what the next trial is. You'll just have to see for yourself. So, I will end it for us here. Oops. I clicked on the wrong scene. All right. XSplit is very slow when it transitions scenes. When I transition to the next scene, that audio should have been cut while that video is playing. But it doesn't. Anyway, for the rest of the week, I guess tomorrow's Four Swords. Somebody better make sure that Michael is ready by 8 o'clock. Because if he's not ready by 8 o'clock, that's what I'm saying. Somebody better message him and let him know that if he wants to play tomorrow, that he has to be ready by 8 o'clock. If he's not ready by 8 o'clock, he won't play. Again, adding him into it will start you guys all the way back from the beginning. Never actually started. But he has to be ready by 8 o'clock tomorrow. And this will also make it or break it for us if we're going to do a collab with him again. Because if he's not ready by 8 o'clock, we can't depend on him to join for collabs in the future. Because we have a set schedule. We start streams at 8 o'clock, nothing later. Unless we have issues with the internet, that is. Wednesday is going to be Dot Hack. Thursday and Friday we're going to do week 15 of the PFL. We're starting to get playoff pictures rolling around. Saturday, more PFL, more Toho. Sunday, more PFL, more Resident Evil. That'll take care of week 5 for the PFL. And then we start back on Monday with Apollo Justice. So, make sure you all have your water. Stay hydrated. It's going to be warm for the next couple of days. We're going to get rain on Wednesday over here. Is it pretty warm over there, Di? You probably got that heat wave too, because you're not that far from us. A little bit of heat wave here. It stretches all the way up from Canada all the way down to the East Coast. Which you're just slightly outside the East Coast. We had a pretty bad winter, so we're going to see some hot days. Anyways, with that said, this is going to be it for me. You guys all have a wonderful night. Take care.